Hey boo, hey, you know what day it is. What day is it? It's Tuesday tea with D. Tuesday tea with D. Tuesday tea with D. Tuesday tea with D. It's Tuesday tea with D. 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 Hey, 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 boo. It's your girl, Detra Trueheart, your life purpose generator, purpose provoker, and iSpeaklife mentor, your personal life coach, all the things here coming with another weekly dose, another weekly serving of Tuesday Tea with D. And this week's tea, honey, we come going back with the oldie but goodie. My loose tea, this is the pomegranate tea. And really, really, really good. I made up a second batch. I had some this morning. And I said, let me make up another batch because today is Tuesday, honey, and we need to make sure we have our tea for Tuesday Tea with D. And it's so good. Super, super, super good. How are you today? I hope you are well. I hope you are enjoying this week. I think spring is trying to spring forth. We had a beautiful day yesterday. It looks like the 60s, 70s. It might be high 70s coming up. Child, y'all keep praying for us. Because for some of y'all, it's already been in the 80s and the 90s, and I need y'all to blow that over this way. Okay? All right. Today is a good conversation, and it is a carryover from yesterday's Monday morning walk talk that I do in my Facebook group. I really love when I get a chance to, I guess, maybe do two perspectives of the same conversation. For one, because some of you will see both of the conversations. Some of you join me on Monday mornings, and some of you also watch the Tuesday Tea with D. And so even though I say the same thing, I say it in a different way. And if you know anything about me, even if it is the same thing, there's a new revelation, just new juiciness that comes from it. So I'm really excited to share. And as I actually shared yesterday, I really wanted to share some of the science behind this conversation of who are your top 5, right? And so if you missed the conversation in the Facebook group, make sure you go to, it's my iSpeaklife Society Facebook group for women. You can go to bit.ly/iSpeaklife Society, bit.ly/iSpeaklife Society, request access to the group. And then you can access, all of the things that are in there, but specifically the Monday lives when I go live every single Monday morning. And it's normally between 7:45, 8 a.m. After I have dropped my son off to school, and I'm doing my little walk throughout the mall. As you know, I've been walking and I'm really excited. I don't know if I'm going to do something next month, but next month is my 1-year anniversary of walking every single morning and Monday through Friday. And there have been some off days, I've been sick, I've been traveling, but consistently, I've been walking, and I'm really proud of myself. And so I don't know, we might have a little shebang to celebrate, my walk-versary. The other thing that I will share is you still have a day, literally today, if you are watching this as of April 30th, 2024, to get your ticket to iSpeaklife Live, right? And so I'm going to pull this information up so you can see it. Save the date, put it in your calendar. It is December 6th, 7th, and 8th. It is a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday in December of 2024 in Niagara Falls, New York. And it is going to be amazing. And so I want to make sure that you know that you still have time to get your ticket. If you thought that, oh, man, I missed it, you didn't miss it, right? I figured, child, it's one more day in April. Let's extend it until the last day of April. And then you're just going to have to wait. If you don't get it today, you'll have to wait until July or August-ish to get your ticket, which it was originally when I was going to start light promo for the event. If this is your first time joining me for Tuesday Tea with D, iSpeaklife Live is my signature 3-day live event where high capacity and busy women come together to just kind of support one another, but more importantly, where I hold space and I support you, right? This is the space where women who pour out into others, encourage others, lead others, manage others, empower others, they get all of that back, right? And so by the time we meet in December, child, you're gonna be ready, right? Because you will have been pouring out. You've been pouring out already. And so hopefully if you join me every Monday, then you can get a little something. If you're part of my inner circle, then you get a little something more. If you're part of my incubator, which is my high level coaching program, you get a whole lot more. But at whatever level you're at, by the time you get to December, honey, you're going to be ready and I'm going to be ready for you. And so it's 3 amazing days, right? You do not want to miss it. 3 amazing days of power, of empowerment, of prophetic impartation, of community, which is going to be really exciting about this conversation that we're going to have today about your top 5, about connection, like a space where you actually, and you know what, it's not cliche when the women from my event really say this. They say, like, I felt seen, right? I came here and thought that I could hide, but there is no hiding in this space, not for me or the ladies who attend, right? And so you're not just coming for me, you're coming for the community, you're coming for the camaraderie, you're coming for the sisterhood, you're coming for the laughs, you're coming for the cries, honey, you're coming for the breakthroughs, the transformations, the confirmations. Need I go on? Listen, you are worth the investment. Make the investment, right? Early bird registration is $447. I also give you an option to pay for 4 monthly payments of $137. And so people are taking advantage of both. Like I've had some people register and they paid in full. I've also had some people say, you know what, I'm gonna break this thing up. However you do it, honey, just get in the room. Okay. All right. So with that being said, we are going to jump right in. The last thing that I actually do want to share, and I'll share that at the end. I was just going to tell you to make sure you are part of the text community, but I really want to jump into this conversation around who are your top 5. And this really came from an email that I had received around the saying and the quote that says who you spend the top 5 people that you spend the most time with they kind of determine like who you be, right? You are the average of the top 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I believe it is a Jim Rohn, who is a personal development expert. It's his quote, right? And so people have said, different things around, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And so I have some notes here that I really want to read. I have a couple of articles that I have pulled up simply because I really want you to be in a space where you are seeing where I'm going with this. And so I'm really excited about it, right? So yesterday's conversation really was around community. It was around like who you spend your time with, right? When you think about the top 5 people that you spend your time with, are they helping or are they hindering? When you think about the top 5 people that you spend your time with, are they people that you can have real honest conversation with about your dreams, your goals, your fears, your struggles, your reality, whatever the case may be? And do you feel lighter or do you feel drained when you're in their space? And so many of you are in spaces with people who are draining, who are hindering, who are not helping you, who are projecting their fears and their anxieties on you. And so it causes you to be stuck. It causes you to be stagnant. It causes you not to take action. It causes you to procrastinate. It causes you to overthink. Do I need to keep going on? I told you I'm excited about this. It causes you to do a whole lot of stuff that if you are in the room with the right people, it not only changes your perspective, but it also changes the trajectory of how your life moves, how you move, how you think, how you speak. And so it's really important to get in rooms and in community with people who are going in the same direction as you, with people who are moving at the same pace as you, right? And so the first thing that I want to share is there's a quote that says, it's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And so there are some things that, yes, you can do alone and you can get there fast. But if you can get there far, but if you want to get there fast, then you need to go with people and you want to go together, right? You want to go. So I said that wrong. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you want to go together, right? And so there are some things that you're not going to be able to do alone, right? There are some things that you're going to need other people to support you with, right? There are going to be some things that 2 heads really are better than one. And so one of the things that I looked up, and there are 2 things that I'm going to share, 2 articles. The first one is around how social connectedness affects our health, how social connectedness affects our health. And this is coming from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And this says social connectedness influences our minds, our bodies, and our behaviors, all of which influence our health and life expectancy. It says research shows that social connectedness can lead to longer life, better health, and improved well-being. And so one of the things that I thought was extremely interesting, and I'm not going to read this whole article. I think what I may do is take this link and put it down in the description for the YouTube channel, in the YouTube description. But it says that people with stronger social bonds have a 50% increased likelihood of survival than those who have fewer social connections. Social connection can help prevent serious illnesses and outcomes like health disease, stroke, dementia, depression, anxiety. It also helps others. Social connection with others can help improve your ability to recover from stress, anxiety, and depression. So it's really talking about this, the importance of community, right? Getting into the right community, promoting healthy eating, physical activity and weight. It improves sleep, well-being, and quality of life. And so if you find yourself in a space of isolation and you find yourself in a space where things don't seem to be moving the way they need to be moving, you may want to find yourself in a community of people who can support you, who can encourage you. It is, and here's the thing, when it talks about community and social connection, it's positive, right? Not negative, right? It reduces your risk of violent or suicidal behaviors. You prevent death from chronic diseases. Like, there's so many health-wise, right? Health benefits, right, that go with this. And so it also says a sense of community belonging and supportive, inclusive connections in your neighborhoods, schools, places of worship, workplaces, and other settings are associated with a variety of positive outcomes. Why am I telling you this? Because when you start to assess who's in your circle, when you start to assess who you hang around, when you start to assess who you have constant conversation with, you want to then begin to think, okay, am I moving forward, or am I feeling stagnant? Do I feel like I can take on the whole world, or do I feel like I need to go hide in a cave, right? You know, I'm going to bring some Bible into this thing right here. And so 1 Corinthians 15:33, it says, the NIV translation says, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. And so when you look up this word, character, right? It corrupts good character. The word actually means, it has multiple translations, but it means customs, habits, manners, morals, right? Moral habits, behavioral patterns. And so when you look at this, bad company corrupts good manners, good habits, good customs, good morals. Listen, I feel like I could do an even, greater study. And so even when you look at the word company, right? Bad company, it is association, intercourse, companionship, conversation, right? And so when you look at association, intercourse, companionship, and conversation, company, who you keep company with, bad association, bad intercourse, who you intermingle with, bad companionship, bad conversation, right? It leads to, or it corrupts good character. Let's look at this word character. Listen, y'all, I might just have to preach this right here. It corrupts. What does the word corrupt mean? Corrupt, the Greek word for corrupt in the Bible, it means to destroy or to spoil or to ruin. And so when we think about who your top 5 are, when you think about who you spend the most time with, do they help or do they hinder, right? Do they ruin, right? Do they spoil? Do they destroy? Or do they strengthen? And so only you know that. Only you know the people you hang around. And maybe it doesn't do any of those things, but it doesn't help you, right? If the 5 people you spend the most time with are your mama, your daddy, your son, your husband, and I don't know, your dog Fufu, and they're not necessarily helping you get to where you need to be. They may not necessarily be negative influences. They may not necessarily be bad company. But what you need to decide to do is you need to get in spaces that are helping you get to ultimately where you need to be, right? And so if you know that finance is an area that you really want to learn more about, then you may need to get in circles where people are talking about money, talking about investments, talk like whatever it is that you're interested in, whether it's fitness, whether it's relationships, whether it is your business. For me specifically, I knew that there were certain communities that I had to intentionally get into because I didn't grow up around entrepreneurship. Even though my parents had businesses, they didn't last, right? And so even though they had a couple of properties, they weren't really big into like real estate investing and all of that kind of stuff. And so I had to make an intentional effort, right, in order to get in rooms where people were talking about things, for one, that I didn't even know people were talking about. But then for two, they were talking about things that I had a desire to learn more about, but the circle that I was in wasn't necessarily, it wasn't conducive to where I was going. So who are your top five, right? I want you to identify your top five. The last thing I'm going to share with you is a article on LinkedIn, and it talks about the brain and how the brain works when it is connected to specific people, right? And so I'm just gonna read a little bit of this. Shout out to, I don't know her. I'm gonna mess up her name, but I will put the link down in the description for YouTube. But it talks about, it says, have you ever heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with? This concept suggests that the people we surround ourselves with greatly influence our thoughts, our behaviors, and ultimately shape who we become, right? And so years ago, when I was doing work with youth, I used to tell them birds of a feather flock together. And I used to say, like, who you hang with really does determine who you become. And so you may not start out that way, right? When it says bad character corrupts good company, you may not necessarily start out that way. But if you spend enough time with people doing certain things, then at some point in time, you start doing what they're doing. You start saying what they're saying. I don't know about you, but you ever hang with somebody for a long period of time, and after a while the folks are saying y'all look alike, and then you start looking like, we actually do kind of favor, but it didn't maybe start out that way. You start dressing alike, you start saying the same things, you start finishing each other's sentences. You got to be careful around whose sentences you're finishing and who you're putting your space in, because again, it rubs off. It says, while it may sound like a mere anecdote, there is scientific evidence to support this idea, particularly through the phenomenon of neural synchronization. In this article, I will explore the fascinating concepts of neuroplasticity and delve into the importance of social connections in shaping our brains. Our minds are constantly forming new connections and reshaping themselves thanks to the process called neuroplasticity. So it says every experience, conversation, and learning moment strengthens the synapses in our brains. Honey, everything you experience, every conversation you have, every learning moment, it strengthens, right? And so if it strengthens it, my question is there a point where it can weaken it? And so neural synchronization refers to the coordinated activity of neurons in different regions of the brain. Research suggests that people within a specific group tend to become more similar, we talked about this, over time, from their outward appearance to the functioning of their brains. Honey, listen, just like spending time with a close friend who shares similar interests, our brains synchronize with those around us. Honey, we got to be careful of who our brains are synchronizing with. Do you hear me? I can't even go into all of this with this specific article. It's not a whole lot, but it really talks about just this idea of surrounding yourself with positive and constructive individuals. It actually helps aid in developing similar behavior patterns. And so it's kind of like, if you want to start doing better with money, start hanging with people who do better with money. If you want to start doing better around fitness, then you need to start hanging around people where that's an important part of their life, right? So even from a spiritual standpoint, right? Get around people who are stretching you spiritually, who are challenging you to pray, who are challenging you to get into the word, who are challenging you to learn more about God. Like, so much. Who are top 5 people? right? When you think about this conversation that I have had with you, and when you think about, where you want to go and who you want to be, and like even just, the gap between where you are and where you want to be, like in between that really is who you've been hanging around. And it really determines like do you get there fast, or go fast, or do you go far? Because here's the other part is you might go fast, but also depends on like where you're going, right? And so you want to be intentional about who you're surrounding yourself with, right? And everybody around you may not necessarily be negative, but they may not be what you need to get to where you are. And it's very intentional. It's very important that you be intentional around making sure that you are taking an assessment of your surroundings. Honey, I need a sip of tea because all of that was good, and gooder. So, one of the things that I will share from this last article where it talks about the science behind, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. There's a renowned social neuroscientist named Matthew Lieberman. He says our brains are wired for socializing. Look at that. It says they have evolved to thrive on connections with others, which greatly impact our well-being and personal development. And so who you hang around matters. Who's pouring into you matters. It says our social interactions play a crucial role in developing our brain's neural synchronization. As social beings, our need for socializing is considered a primary necessity, similar to basic needs such as eating and sleeping. The regions of our brain that process the pain of social isolation overlap with those responsible for physical pain, highlighting the significance of social connections in our lives, right? So what is this saying? It means, and I think, know that we were created to be around people. We were created to be in community. God didn't create us to be in isolation. He did not create us to be in seclusion. He didn't create us for that. And so I think it is extremely important for us to understand that if we were created for community, if we were created and our brains are wired for socializing, and even in our brains being wired for socializing, that social connectedness also helps us become better people. It is important for us to be intentional with who we connect to and who we socialize with. Scripture says, bad company corrupts, destroys, ruins, spoils good character, good morals, good habits, right? And so who you associate with, it matters. If you're a parent, you know what we tell our kids, right? You got to be careful who you hang with and all that kind of stuff. Well, as adults, it's extremely important as well. You hanging around the wrong people or specific people, and you say a thing and they shoot that thing down, it literally can have an effect and an impact on how you move the next time you decide to do something, or if you move at all. Certain people can say specific things to you, and literally because you value their input, if it's not what you want to hear, you isolate, you seclude, you pull back. That's why you got to be in the right circles. And that's why you have to evaluate. And I said this yesterday, sometimes you have to determine, even like the social connectedness piece, like you might have, your 5 people you may not talk about all of the same things with those people. You might have a person where you can really dig deep and go deep in scripture and prayer and talking about God. You might have another person where like y'all, the money conversation is through the roof, right? Y'all are talking about all the money things, right? Maybe you have somebody else in that circle where would y'all talk about fitness, right? Or somebody who y'all go shopping, y'all have a good time, y'all go out and get some good food, y'all have some good drink, like y'all have that in common, right? And so your top 5, in my opinion, don't all have to be doing the same thing, but I think that they should be able to complement where you're going. And so you may not necessarily be able to talk about entrepreneurship with the person who you talk about fitness with, but you understand that. And so the conversation is geared toward where that person can supplement and complement you, right? As part of your community and your socialization. But you also the people who you don't need to be talking to. The people who call you and you look at their number and you like, not today. Because you already know, right? you don't want to be bothered. And so you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional. And so the reason I'm sharing this is also because this is why you need to be part of my communities, right? So whether it's the inner circle, the incubator, I only share during I Speak Live, which is why you probably will never hear about it because it's high end. And so during that, and not even because it's a high level coaching program, but that's when I pitch it, is at my event. The women who are having the immersive experience with me for 3 days are ready for that high level experience. And so, but there's an inner circle. There are my strategy sessions. There are my free Facebook group, right? Just the community itself. And if the space that I create is not necessarily for you, get a community that is, right? Get in community. Be socially connected with people who help you be who you're supposed to be, who call you higher, who stretch you, who call you on your stuff, who chin check you, right? Don't just love on you and coddle you and make you feel warm and fuzzy, but they call you to the highest version of who you have been called to be. Those are the communities that I create. Those are the spaces that I try to put myself in, even when it's scary, because it's like, dang, I don't know what these people are talking about, right? It's scary. It's intimidating when you're in spaces and people are doing things that you've never done before, and they're talking about things that you've never heard before, but it's invigorating because you're like, man, I want some of that. You got to get in those rooms. And so again, I want to invite you to join me for I Speak Life Live in December. Like, there is no reason why you should be watching me every single Tuesday and you have not decided that, unless you have a prior engagement, right? You may already have something going on, then that's great, right? But if not, then you need to be in the room, right? You need to be in the room. And if you're not in the room, then you need to get in the inner circle, right? Inner circle is I Speak Life. I'll put this up here as well. At some point, I'm gonna focus on I Speak Life Live now because that's where I want you to go. But if you have questions about the inner circle, inbox me about the inner circle, because I believe that that's the next level for where you can be at a paid level, right? But I wanted to share this with you, not just for this sake, but just in general. Stop isolating yourself. You're not by yourself. You're not alone. You just got to find your people, right? And so if you're not sure, ask God to reveal that to you. Ask God to show you who your people are. Ask God to reveal to you where you need to go to get in spaces that your people are going to be in, right? So if this was good for you, please let me know, right? Make sure you let me know, because I'm just, super excited just about creating spaces for high capacity and busy women to be poured into, right? For you to get out of your own way and stop playing it safe, stop settling, so you can show up for yourself in the same way that you show up for others. You show up big for everybody else. You just don't show up big for you. And so my mantle is to help you to show up big for you, whether that means you going to sit yourself down, because showing up big for you means saying no so that you can say yes to you, right? Showing up big for you means, like, I've helped you launch your dreams. It's time for me to launch my dreams, right? And so there's that duality that I've been talking about around really making sure that you are taking care of yourself, but also showing up for yourself and doing things for yourself the way that you have always done them for other people. So with that being said, let me take a little bit of this tea, honey. I hope today was really good for you. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you like the video, right? Hit that button, that little thumb up button. Make sure you comment below, child. Let me know how this resonates with you, honey, because I did a whole little science / mini sermon, like all the things. Today was good. And the last thing is, you already know from subscribing, liking, commenting, what am I going to say? Make sure you share this with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, right? Once the video is live, you can just literally hit the share button. You can share it on social media, or you can text them and say, listen, today's tea was so good. Check it out and let me know what you think, right? Other than that, I do hope to see you at I Speak Life Live in December 6th. I'm going to put this image up really quickly. December 6th, 7th, and 8th, and in Niagara Falls, New York. And I hope that you will get your early bird ticket at iSpeaklife.com. iSpeaklife.com. Registration is $447 for a pay in full ticket, and you can pay also with a payment plan of $137 for 4 monthly payments, right? And so if you sign up today, every single month on the 30th of the month, your account will be automatically deducted $137, and you'll be done by July, which means by then you will already have booked your hotel, and you'll just have to pay for that in December. And the last thing is just figuring out how you're going to get here, child, if you're not local, right? Like, That's the last thing. We want to make this easy for you. The other reason why I opened registration earlier than normal this year, I always do early registration pre-sale in December and January, and then I wait until later on in the year. But this year I decided to open it earlier because there are people who didn't even know. They still don't know. Like, there are people who I know, if I say, hey, did you know I'm having an event, they're like, no, I had no clue. And so I'm probably not going to do it for another couple of months again when I'm scheduled to do it, unless I feel like, you know what, let's do another 7-day blitz. Because I want to give people an opportunity to plan ahead, right? Because that's around Thanksgiving time, Christmas time, child, all the things, right? And so if you can get it on your schedule now, you can plan everything else around everything else that you got going on. So with that being said, I am really excited about iSpeaklife Live. I'm excited about all the things that are actually happening this year. God is really showing up in some amazing ways. I'm excited how he's going to be showing up for you, because I believe that when you open up and you start to step in spaces that allow you to really be able to explore, who it is that you've been saying you want to be, or you didn't even know you could be because you stopped dreaming because you were helping everybody else with their dreams. I think that this is going to be a really amazing time for you. And so I'm praying that God will continue to reveal you to yourself and will give you the courage, bold courage, to be able to step out and step into his promises, his purpose, his will, and his destiny for your life. So with that being said, I will see you next time on Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D.